Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Protests over the war in Gaza have taken hold at a handful of elite US universities as officials scramble to defuse demonstrations. Police moved to break up an encampment at New York University, making a number of arrests. Dozens of students were arrested at Yale earlier in the day, while Columbia University cancelled in-person classes. The White House has condemned anti-Semitic incidents that have marred some demonstrations. Protests and heated debates about the Israel-Gaza war and free speech have rocked US campuses since the Hamas attack on Israel on the 7th of October, which prompted Israel's campaign in Gaza. French officials say 5 people, including a 7-year-old girl, have died while trying to cross the English Channel in the early hours of Tuesday. They said the victims were trying to get to the UK on an overloaded boat carrying 112 migrants. Authorities said the boat ran aground on a sandbank after leaving Wimereux near Bologna before continuing on.
A few hundred meters from the coast, the engine stopped and several people fell into the water. The Abbé Normandie patrol boat was immediately tasked by the maritime prefect to rescue the shipwrecked crew. The sailors found several people in the boat who were unconscious and in great difficulty. Despite resuscitation attempts, 5 of them died.
Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said the deaths of those 5 people have been tragic. He was speaking to journalists en route to Poland after the news of the deaths first emerged. He said breaking the business model of criminal gangs who organised the crossings was a matter of compassion. On Monday, Parliament approved the government's Safety of Rwanda bill. Ukraine is suspending consular services for male citizens aged 18 to 60 abroad as part of a drive to beef up numbers joining the military.
I would recommend all critics to shut up.
Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said protecting the rights of Ukrainians was still key, but the main priority is to protect our homeland from destruction during Russia's full-scale invasion. Russia has a big advantage in numbers and weapons on the battlefield. Kyiv recently lowered the age of mobilization from 27 to 25. The head of the UN Children's Agency, UNICEF, has said 3 million children in Haiti are in need of humanitarian assistance as continued gang violence hampers aid delivery.
Millions of children at greater risk of child marriage and child labor.
Catherine Russell said the situation in Haiti was catastrophic and growing worse by the day. She told a meeting of the UN Security Council that in many areas essential services had collapsed. Meanwhile, a transitional presidential council has still not been sworn in. Australia's leader has called Elon Musk an arrogant billionaire in an escalating feud over X's reluctance to remove footage of a church stabbing. On Monday, an Australian court ordered Mr. Musk's social media firm, formerly called Twitter, to hide videos of last week's attack in Sydney. X previously said it would comply pending a legal challenge. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's criticism followed Mr. Musk using a meme to accuse his government of censorship. On Tuesday, Mr. Albanese said Mr. Musk thinks he's above the law, but also above common decency.
Well, this guy is showing his arrogance. He's a billionaire over there in the United States who thinks he's above Australian law. This isn't about censorship, it's about common sense and common decency, and Elon Musk should show some.
And there was joyful singing and cheers in Western Democratic Republic of Congo as a procession emerged from an underground cave bearing an antique wooden figure of a Belgian colonial officer. The Ballot sculpture was made in the area in the 1930s when Congo was under Belgium's brutal colonial rule. An artist collective led a long-running campaign for its return from a US museum. The sculpture, which depicts a colonial administrator who was killed during a worker revolt at the plantation in 1931, is now considered a symbol of colonial resistance. It is back in Lusanga for a 6-month display after spending more than 50 years in Virginia. Its homecoming coincides with growing global pressure on Western institutions to repatriate artifacts taken during the colonial era. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.